TraderTrader.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. My thing here says privacy. This is set to unlisted. Were you aware of that, Chris? I don't know whether we're going to do this unlisted or public. Wasn't able to do a show yesterday. I just felt absolutely horrible. You know, when you first come down with a cold, you just feel like absolute crap. Unfortunately, I had to bail on Lily as well, but there's no way I could do a 6-hour car ride. All right, so I decided I don't really feel that much better, but you know, after a cold sort of breaks, you know, I'm gonna be like hacking and wheezing and blowing my nose and all that kind of fun stuff, but should be able to give you some value here today. Tough to say whether I could give you some value, but I'll try my darndest. See how we do. Happy Monday morning, TGIM and all that. 1 week away until Mr. Trump's inauguration. And as I was joking with Chris earlier, it sure feels like Mr. Biden's trying to get 4 years of shit all accomplished here in 4 days. So sadly, of course, you know, the whole damn thing is the politics just stinks. And I suppose that's the world that we live in. And it's always been the same. You know, it's kind of fun if you go back and look at history, the sort of tumultuous times around all these great resets. 1860s, of course, U.S. Broke apart into civil war. So you can imagine how thick the rhetoric was around that. Pretty nasty politics. Obviously, 1770s, 1780s. Previous Great Reset, U.S. Revolutionary War, but also too things like French Revolution. These great resets, they're very trying on the silly humans, and unfortunately, all a function of Rothschilds. Actually, it was interesting. I saw on Twitter this morning, of all things that were trending, Satan was trending. And there was a picture of the Rothschilds standing with some European bureaucrat. I couldn't pronounce her name. And they were standing in front of a picture, and the picture was labeled something like Satan's calling Satan or something like that, which I guess seems appropriate in this crazy ass world. As I said, I'm probably going to have to blow my nose a few times. This is going to be a bit awkward, but we'll struggle through it. I really would like to try and sort of convey what it is I'm doing in the market and what I'm seeing here. And also, too, it's not a bad idea just to give sort of a final pitch for the school program. Actually, on the site yesterday, obviously typing is a little easier than talking. I was chatting with some new people who had joined the site and the platform recently. And one lady, I think we gave her a pretty good sales pitch why she's here to learn the process. So just give me a second here. So if you do have the opportunity, the school program is starting up here shortly. So as I said there a moment ago, not a bad idea to give you a little bit of a sales pitch to consider joining the education program as we head headlong into Q1 2025. Where is that one? I had it up here somewhere earlier. I don't know which one I had it on. Maybe I didn't. Over there? No, it must be one of these. Charts all over the place. Oh, I don't see it. All right. Well, anyway, it's one of these tabs. One of these tabs is not like the other. All right. I suppose when I stumble upon the tab, I'll show you. I mean, I suppose here we can just go therationalinvestor.com. So Julian had kind of asked, like I said yesterday, I was going to do a video, but I just felt like absolute crap. But Julian did ask whether so that's why I decided to do the public one here today. So Julian had asked that I just make a mention that school program here is starting in about 12 hours. So actually, the team even decided to extend that Black Friday discount. So in this hyperinflation world, Jesus, learning how to become a professional money manager for $1,000, what a steal! Oh, well, we build some pretty incredible traders. Actually, Chris is humming along here, talking to him this morning about trading his. He's actually wanting to go long crude. I'm thinking about shorting it, but he's like, no way, man, I'm bull, strong like bull. Anyway, I had a very good conversation with the day traders this morning. Them all just doing their craft. So whether you are a little old lady and you're just trying to get set up to participate in this crypto seasonal bull run, or you do actually fancy yourself a futures trader or a stock trader or options traders, we got you covered here at TRI. So if anything, I'm thinking that probably through the first quarter of this new year, market's going to be soft, so you're not really missing anything. Maybe take advantage of that quarter to get your shit together so that you can participate for the rest of the year. And for whatever it's worth, I actually did quite a bit of buying here this morning because crypto took quite a dump, and I like to work stink bids. So I'm going to be accumulating here over the next few months on any weakness. You can bet your bottom dollar there. Anyway, okay, so there's the sales pitch. Consider joining the school if you could. Broader market, you can see breadth. You can use the breadth indicator just like any oscillator. If the market is above the 50 line, then that's bullish. If it's below the 50 line, then that's bearish. So you can see we bumped up against the 40 line here. And we're kind of waffling along here. So in my thinking, in my mind right now, we sort of had a bit of a oversold condition. You can see how bad the histogram went, basically dumpy into oversold. That was following the irrational exuberance window coming out of the US Thanksgiving holiday weekend. This is so cliche, it's ridiculous. But if anything, it's great that we have this nice visual tool just to walk you through this. So heading into the Christmas break, this is what they often call the Santa Claus rally. And now we're sort of in the entire world's about to be turned on its head. And are we a bull or are we a bear? And unfortunately, I'm leaning towards a lot of uncertainty around the beginning of Mr. Trump's presidency. Might even, I know we have one gentleman over in Europe who's pounding the table that a recession should happen. I don't think we're going to hit recession in the United States, but I definitely think the global economy is, if it isn't already in recession, it's heading headlong into it. And of course, the sad part about it is you could make the argument that half of the reason that why the world is so messed up the way that it is right now is because all these socialists went and spent a whole bunch of money that they didn't have, mortgaged our children's future, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, basically guaranteeing the slavery to the Rothschilds indefinitely of our society, which, me, I absolutely hate. And now we have to live with the consequences. And the worst part about it is that these stupid bastards, like the little fuckhead in my country, excuse my French, there will be nothing to hold him to account. He literally has absolutely destroyed the country's balance sheet, and he will not be held to task. Well, I'll go play blackface or whatever the idiot likes to do, dress up like a girl. So it's so infuriating. If anything, it's high time that the damn pendulum starts swinging back the other direction. But the damage has already been done. So Welcome to the 21st century. This is going to be a challenge. If anything, this is great though for all you crypto enthusiasts. Well, I mean, I don't know about crypto in particular, but Bitcoin definitely. Uh, the way that the socialists have completely sold us out to the Rothschilds, sold out the fiat currency system. We're living in hyperinflationary times, and I don't see any of that changing anytime soon. So I don't see any reason why Bitcoin can't work its way higher. Having said that, I do think that there is a fairly big transition that's going on here. And, the socialists were in very, very firm control. And also, too, they have ideological objectives. And it appears to me that Mr. Biden is trying desperately to achieve as many of his socialist and then ideological objectives as possible in the very last little period of time that he has left. Yeah, my hunch is it's probably going to take a few months to, actually settle all this out. So the one thing that I do see, of course, Mr. Biden's finally sort of sticking it to Mr. Putin with regard to his shadow oil fleet. But the one thing that definitely jumps out at me, and this is, as I said, there's one gentleman on the site who's, been a part of our community for quite some time, who definitely believes that the U.S. is heading into recession. I don't agree with that, but I definitely agree that Europe and China and India and all of these places all around the world should get their asses kicked here, and sort of come back down to earth. Let's try and like look at this from a real economic perspective, not this stupid CCP nonsense. Um, the one way that you might find that we actually do have to go into recession here in the West is if you see oil prices move up egregiously here. One of the sort of last lines of defense here gotta sneeze. Sorry, just give me a second. Sorry about that. Uh, One of the last lines of defense here were these old highs on this. This is the February crude oil contract. And I was actually thinking that we would run into this gap and stall out here. But as I said, Chris is like, you're an idiot for being a bear. I'm a bull. Get out of my way. Now, if this starts taking off like a rocket, this will be the one way that you will absolutely guarantee that the whole economy will come to a grinding halt. Uh, of course, probably. Well, I've made the argument, and remember I was an old commodities broker. Maybe it's a function of the 20th century. I don't know, but energy prices always lead. Energy always, always, always leads. And the worst part about this image is that we haven't even actually gotten into the seasonal window. The seasonal trade says that you buy your unleaded the middle of February, which is like right in here, and you actually sell it the middle of May, which is way over here. Seasonally speaking, this is a very, very strong window that we're heading into. So if the market looks like this and we haven't even entered into the seasonal window, what does that mean? And I'm thinking that maybe we do a bit of consolidation here as Mr. Trump takes power and all that kind of stuff. And then this creates one big ass bull flag, right? So don't be surprised if you see oil prices substantially higher. And this might be the one way that indeed the Western economies, including the United States, actually have to head into recession. I mean, I don't know what the consolidation looks like, but if it looks something like that, well, there you go. And then if we do like fog and bombs off of this huge W down in here, you can see 2.618s are already projecting up in that area. What is that? $90+ a barrel. And that would be one way that you will see that this economy will come to a grinding halt. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for Sonny and his sunny expectations of recession. If, however, this does calm down and we sort of, I don't know, head back down to the bottom end of the range kind of idea, well, then I think the odds of recession in the Western economies are fairly limited. I can't really see a huge move. And if anything, the irony of all of this is that we are technically into a window where commodity prices should be falling. The problem with all of this, and it drives you crazy, of course, is what is actually real price? So we might just go something like CL1 exclamation mark divided by M2 money supply. So what is the real price of oil here? Yeah, it's moving up, but are we anywhere near what we used to be in this silly commodity? Before they went and fucked with the money supply and just basically screwed all our futures. And I hate to say it, this is just even the highs from 2022. That's a million miles away. And then we go back to like George Bush Jr. Days of the actual real bull market in oil. And there, where the hell's the top? It's like all the way up here. So, oh boy, what a mess. I wouldn't actually say that oil prices are actually really high right now. The problem is that they've gone and screwed with the currency. So we look at oil and we go, $70, $80 a barrel. That's pretty high. And in reality, it's not really that high. So that's the scary part about this image. Anyway, we'll see what happens. As it is obvious right now, the bull has got the ball. And if anything, it almost looks like to me like this is a little bull flag right in here. So something like there to there. And oops. There to there. So looks like they want to probably actually you could even just draw a simple trend line. That peak there to that peak there. Probably some blow off top all the way up into there. So, this is the number one problem in our society right now. And ironically enough, this is absolutely beautiful, like music to Mr. Trump's ears. He basically wants to, ramp up the U.S.'s production and could easily become the world's number one producer, exporter of oil, which is rather ironic. And I don't think he has a problem whatsoever with Mr. Biden putting the screws to Mr. Putin here right now. And also putting the screws to China and India and stuff like that. I don't think he cares. And if that means that the higher the oil price, the more revenue the Americans can collect for selling their oil into the marketplace, well, I think Mr. Trump would be more than happy with that. Having said that, once the wheels are in motion and the drilling starts and the production starts, and it's quite obvious that the world is flush with oil, I fully expect this price to come off appreciably. But this is the problem du jour, no doubt about it. And the way that you and the public are going to see it, I suppose we're going to see it at the gas pump. But if you drive an electric car, I suppose you won't see that. Be interesting to see what happens to this whole electric vehicle stuff with the fires in the Southern California there. Whether it eats into the infrastructure and whether they can even produce the electricity to charge these cars, but that's another conversation for another day. I think probably the big thing that has jumped out at me here is going to be what happens to interest rates. Because interest rates are highly, highly inflationary sensitive. So if you have a proxy like, geez, what the hell's going on here? I suppose we can just use this. If you have a proxy like oil, energy prices pushing higher, should we expect inflationary pressures to ramp up? I think the answer is an unequivocal yes. So it really shouldn't surprise us to see these W's coming in here. And this, like I said, this will be if there's going to be something that derails the economy and plunks us back into recession, it's going to be the fact that inflation is coming roaring back. And I even did hear somebody say today that they are hearing. Well, actually, I guess it was last night. That the scuttlebutt is that the Fed's basically done lowering interest rates, and that's about as good as it gets with regard to falling interest rates in this environment. On the short end, all I will say is we have been talking for quite a while about whether this was going to M out and our lives were going to get a lot better. And we went through this period right here where the inflationary pressures were abating. And it was actually kind of enjoyable. You know, I was actually down in California this time last year. My hunch is that gasoline price is going to be like probably twice as much as what it was when I was there last year. But you can see we're in a very, very different environment than last year. So inflation has come roaring back. And they always say that energy is the leading component in the inflation conversation. So if energy prices are ratcheting up, then that means that everything else should sort of play catch up. That'll be like a cost push, which will be like the cost of energy, the cost of electricity, the cost of heating, the cost, and then demand pull. So to offset those costs, the consumer is going to be like, "Well, we need higher wages, you cocksuckers," and they're going to demand higher wages. And interestingly enough, in my country, and of course, my country is an absolute shit show. But the post office, all of them went on strike. And so, what was the government's response to them? You know, perfect illustration of demand pull. You know, because the dear leader in my country cranked energy prices higher with massive taxes. So what do? They demand higher wages. And what did the post office do in reaction? Which is total dinosaur thinking. They don't realize they're basically putting themselves out of business. They went and raised the prices of stamps, you know, so just yet another example of the inflationary push that we're in. And it's just one thing after another, after another, after another. And, you know, this is the great resetting. Get used to it. Rothschilds win. They always win, except in the afterlife. Hopefully they burn in hell, cocksuckers. But oh well. This is this crazy existence on Earth. So, with this backdrop, what I wanted to show you was the bonds. They've been getting pretty beat up here lately. What's actually interesting is to conjecture how Mr. Hendry is doing, because Mr. Hendry was, I'm a hedge fund manager. I'm the captain of the world, and I know everything. Of course, he came out, I think it was right in here, extolling how he was very bond bullish and the whole world economy was going to tip over. And that's kind of heading the wrong direction, eh? This is an interesting level, though. We are finally back into the price gap. And it is interesting how this is all happening right into Mr. Trump's inauguration. My hunch here is they're going to try and wash this market out, dump it as hard as they possibly can, like I said, into the first couple months of Mr. Trump's presidency. And then what? Right? And then we start to see the policies of, okay, we're going to start cranking up production of oil, which means, you know, the one thing, actually, the really easy way for you all to tell when this nightmare of sort of inflationary pressures is finally over is I always like to refer back to my old, this is the old website I used to use for commodities trading. And they're sort of third party independent. They're not really owned by any major media outlets. So I always like these guys, pretty straightforward. And they even have Bitcoin on here. So you can always look at that. But the number one way that you can tell when this craziness has come to an end is if we pull up our crude oil. Where the hell's damn crude oil? Jesus, my eyesight is so bad. There's heating oil. Where the hell's crude? Natural gas. Why can I not see oil? That's a bit odd. Anyway, here's crude over here. Brent. I don't want to look at Brent. Let's look at WTI. All right. So the number one way that you can see whether this crisis has come to an end is Well, that didn't work. Let's see if we can get a term structure here. Come on, you. Holy moly, this is painful. Currencies, grains, interest rates, metals, oil. Hey, there we are. Took forever to find that. Sorry about that. And actually, this would be an interesting quiz for all of you. Can you identify the market state here where you have high prices in the near term? So interesting how we have February $79, March 77, April 76, May 75, June 74. What do we call that market state? And you'll know that the crisis is over, and we'll sort of go back to living normal, sane lives when this market state resolves itself. So, interestingly enough, you all have actually a really good little tool, a tell, as to when the crisis will be over. If you don't know what I'm referring to, this is a core concept that we teach in our level 2 program. For those aspiring to be actual traders, all about the term structure and understanding market state and the term structure. And I know I'm not going to give you the answer. If you don't know, get your ass in school and learn. Long and short of it here, this market is in crisis right now. And until this crisis situation resolves, I don't see any change to sort of the crisis scenario. Having said that, let's see what happens with Mr. Trump's probably first 6 months or so in power. I did notice a lot of energy companies and a lot of oil stocks and stuff are putting in pretty good looking bottoms, which means that I do believe that the United States is getting ready to get into the oil business in earnest. And I do find it interesting, anybody that comes back to you about the whole climate bullshit, just ask yourself, and I really like this quote because this is a very real look at this. These goddamn politicians are owned by these corporate people. And the corporate people, of course, are working an agenda, like that stupid Fink guy and his ESG nonsense. As soon as he sold the Tesla stock that he had, he basically came out and said, well, our company no longer has any comment on ESG and would just leave that entirely up to politicians. And like literally the whole damn fucking joke of a con job fell apart. But if you're ever asking about like the environment, and I always talk about this, I mean, those damn tanks in Eastern Europe, do they are they environmentally friendly? I mean, you all know the answer to that. I thought I had it on here, but a really interesting commentary, just sort of an aside. Where the hell is this? Why is this? Isn't that interesting? It doesn't even put up mine. That's some silly TRI one. There we are. How much CO2 has been released into the air, the Southern California fires, just over the past few days? And in comparison to all of the CO2 that vehicles have been dumping into the air, the numbers are staggering. So I don't really like this whole corporate led brainwashing world that we live in. And I think this is a very good illustration of how this stuff gets so completely derailed our society. There are like pockets in the ocean where natural gas just naturally bubbles to the surface. And you want a kind of a side conversation. They've this whole global warming crap and all that. They label this stuff fossil fuels. But have you ever asked yourself, methane, which is one of the big bugaboos now about global warming, again, another one of these carbon, based fuels. Actually, probably even worse than CO2 for the whole global warming conversation. Does it really make sense that these are fossil fuels? When you look at, like, I think it's Saturn or Jupiter, one of their main moons, literally has oceans of methane. Basically, methane at the temperature that it is, it flows like water there. How on earth do you call that a fossil fuel? Uh, like almost absolute zero. And of course, no life there whatsoever. And yet, literally, like oceans of methane. So I hate to say it, but I actually think over the next 50 years, 100 years, I can start seeing the pendulum swinging back the other direction. I think you're actually going to find that the argument that oil is not actually a function of fossil and biological effects. I did actually put out a tweet here recently about that. I think that we as humans have been brainwashed about this particular subject, and I think that the brainwashing is actually completely wrong. Anyway, it's just a really good testament that 500 years ago, if I sat here and said, I'm going to hop in a boat and I'm going to sail around the world because I think the world is a circle, a sphere, I would have been burned at the stake as a witch. So don't believe what you hear from these stupid politicians, especially politicians. Politicians are the last people in the world we should be taking any advice, whether it be environmental, whether it be economic, whether it be societal. They are the last people in the world because all they give a shit about is just getting reelected and making sure that their pet projects get funded. That's the only thing politicians give a shit about. In fact, in my country, it's so brutally obvious. This idiot that people basically come up to him and tell him to fuck off, which, like 20, 30 years ago would have been absolutely unheard of. But nowadays, nobody has a problem with it. Even cute little ladies are going up to the idiot and telling him to go fuck himself. Yeah. All right. It's so sad, this society. So I don't think I think that a lot of these woke politicians and stuff, they've really undermined our trust in government. And I think the whole vaccine and stuff, that all undermined our trust in government. It's just made the situation so much worse. Anyway, yeah. Rant. Sorry about that. Got off. I had to get that off of my chest. It was bugging me. I've been thinking about that for a while. Anyway, what I have noticed, and I've seen quite a few people on TRI posting energy stocks and oil stocks, and I gotta say, they're looking pretty interesting here as a place to seriously consider investing. And the problem here, of course, is that if oil prices and oil stocks are doing well, then technology usually doesn't do very well. We've had that conversation lots in the past. And actually, if you look at the economic cycle, it makes perfect sense. Actually, we could probably just go right back to here. Which one was it? It's one of these. That sucks. Anyway, let's just finish off this talk. Give me a second here. This one here. So you can see communication services, discretionary technology, they're all part of this part of the economic cycle. And I think that we were sort of coming out now. Energy is starting to ramp up. You see where energy and materials are. It's interesting. I'm very interested in Newmont here. It's putting in a W on the weekly charts. I have a funny little gold silver stock that has a pretty big property up in northern BC. It's had a huge move up here today. I noticed Michael, one of our regulars in our SOF club, his stock, that Dundee Metals, I think I saw it moving up appreciably. So it feels like we're moving through the economic cycle. I'm getting more and more anecdotal information that we're in this kind of part of the cycle now. And interestingly, I was interested in a pharmaceutical stock there last week that the system was saying that it was looking like it was trying to bottom and it just got absolutely smoked this morning. So I don't think we're here just yet. I think we're actually like right in this area right here now with regard to the economic cycle. So here's your tech stocks and all that. They usually don't do very well if energy is booming higher here. So yeah, food for thought. We'll keep an eye on this as we go forward. But as I said, some of the material stocks that I'm following are looking uppy. And of course, energy is just booming here. Holy moly. Chris is going to get rich being long. All right. So that's sort of your 64,000 foot view of the sort of broader market. It is January, so we want to keep an eye on the January barometer. They always say as January goes, so goes the year. This was our report coming out of last week, the first week. And frankly speaking, I think this is pretty accurate. A little bump up in the market into Mr. Trump's inauguration. Then a dumpy dump into the Ides of March. And this is the period where the bonds are going to be looking really, really tough. And you probably see energy prices go up quite a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of pivot here. There usually is a window here into call it mid-spring, late spring, where us humans are feeling pretty good. We get income tax refunds, all that kind of fun stuff. The economy, like my hunch here is the first 100 days of Trump's presidency. Um, I think it's going to be all about sort of wrap yourself in the flag. And if anything, I'm almost thinking now with the way the market's looking, like I was worried that we might bid the market up into Mr. Trump's inauguration. And then we're going to have to just go straight down for like 3 or 4 months following that just to relieve the overbought condition. But I might make the argument that this might actually be a sell the rumor and then we buy the news on the other side of the event. Yeah, keep in mind that this silly inauguration, it's 1 week away now, right? It's there. So we're running out of time and this thing's still weak as shit here. It's just not firming up at all. Oh, sorry, I got a schnoz. I'll be back in a second. All right. So, kind of like as we were coming into the latter part of that first week or two of the of January, as we sort of get through the inauguration, excuse me, which will be here. I wouldn't be surprised if this has to continue down here. I don't know how far we have to go here. We do have the huge leaps expiry coming up here on Friday. So we might find that a big chunk of the price action in the marketplace has everything to do with that leap expiry. Including, your beloved things like Bitcoin and stuff like that. It wouldn't surprise me if, in fact, maybe even for the Wednesday broadcast, we'll pull down some of the options expiry, major strikes where the open interest is heaviest, and just to get an idea of where, the 1% wants to take the market. So I wouldn't be surprised if actually we kind of trough out here into Mr. Trump's inauguration. And then kind of like what you saw here the last week, the last day of that last week, we should see some sort of backfilling. I don't know how egregious the rally is going to be, but we should see some sort of lift out of that inauguration event into the end of the year if the January barometer was accurate through the first day and the first week. So far, first hour, first day, first week, we're getting kind of an idea of what to expect here for this 2025. And unfortunately, it sure looks to me like it's going to be a lot of back and forth. And in a weird sort of way, that does make sense. I don't think that this is a crash scenario kind of year. I don't think that the forces at work in the oil markets and the energy markets, they're going to be too persisting. Keep in mind, Mr. Biden is on his way out. He's trying to jam through as many things to cause crisis here in the short term as possible. Well, the hunch here is as we sort of work our way through 2025, we'll start slowly forgetting about Mr. Biden, and you'll see Mr. Trump's policies start to kick in. So, probably by the second half of the year, my hunch is you're probably going to start to see those energy prices come off. But you can see, even like this was the first day. Yeah, about halfway through the year, we got a bit of a dump. This was the first hour, halfway through that, we got a bit of a dump. And first week, about halfway through that, we got a bit of a dump. So it does look to me like this is going to be a back and forth year. Anyway, we'll see how the rest of the month goes. My hunch is it probably is going to look something along these lines. Interesting to see the semiconductors, right? The ultimate leading indicator for the market. Been humming and hawing about this. If you watch some of these social media people, they're barking about how the stocks have broken down. I don't know whether they have or haven't. I do think that we had a topping pattern. We had a potential top came in here, and then the market just did nothing for like basically about a month and a half. We'll see whether this is some sort of empire top here and we start breaking back down again. I have been noticing this is happening a lot in the market right now. Like Ethereum, for example, it gave about 2 or 3 different head fakes here. And even today it broke down after looking like it was pointing up. And you can make the argument that's kind of the same thing that's happening here. Just a whole bunch of head fakes as we're getting ready for this new administration. Probably, this is probably a really good anecdote that you probably shouldn't make too many really big bets with the last, month of Mr. Biden's presidency and what's the big unknown about Mr. Trump going forward here. I think the whole market is very, very uncertain right now. I definitely think that that's the theme of the day, and I think this chart tells you that in spades. This chart doesn't even know whether we're going up or down right now, and you can see little short, topping patterns. They were blasted out there middle of last week, and market's nice and weak again here, right back where the original short was. So I think it's probably like once burned, twice shy. I think I'm just going to leave this thing alone for the time being, to be honest with you. Did do a little bit of bottom fishing in stocks like Intel. Not really in a huge hurry to do anything here. I would not call this a quote unquote trade. I would call this more like positioning, maybe. I don't know whether that's the right term. I'm not sure. The only way I could get bullish of a name like this is if we actually start seeing W's here. And I don't see any W's. We had a nasty outside downside key reversal. I'm more than happy to sit on the stock, and I bought a 2026 bull call spread. So I think we are near some sort of bottom end of the range, but I don't have any buy signals here. And anybody looking to time their place in the marketplace right here, as I said just a moment ago, with the way that the stocks are acting here, I think they basically told us, look, just cool your jets, leave this shit alone here, let it settle down. And of course, unfortunately, if energy prices are moving higher, they are going to have a direct impact on things like the semiconductor sector, being all technology oriented, and my endless rants about tech versus energy. So hopefully you're aware of that. Just be careful there, folks. And keep in mind, semiconductors are the ultimate leading indicator. And these things, they tried to put in bottoms. I see a whole bunch of potential bottoms, but I see a whole bunch of potential bottoms that were just broken. Boo, hiss, hiss, boo, hiss, hiss, boo. So tough message coming out of the semiconductor space right now. I suppose if we look at the broader indexes, I don't think they look overly happily either. It doesn't surprise me, right? Just simply because how do we say this? To a certain degree, I think that the socialists they play into the banksters' hands because the banksters just simply want us to be up to our eyeballs in debt and never get out of debt. And then, of course, as soon as the debt actually gets to the size where it's too big, then you hyperinflate the money supply. They basically monetize the debt, as they say, hyperinflate the money supply, and you start the whole game all over again. I do believe that a person like Mr. Trump, he doesn't like to play that kind of game. And I don't know whether this is really Trump, because Trump, keep in mind, he was in bed with Deutsche Bank for a very long time. So, he knows how to play the bank game. And I would say that this is a quote unquote hard money kind of conversation. So, the one way that the banksters can really manipulate society is if they bring the stock market down, then the public opinion, because everybody's like loaded up to the tits with their 401ks in the stock market and all these ETFs, you bring the stock market down and you could literally have the population all start to moan and groan about how terrible things are and stop this. Stock market has to go up. So, my hunch here, and this is basically what happened with the Great Depression, is the banksters will say, well, because of inflationary concerns, we need to be tight on monetary policy. Keep in mind, last Trump presidency, the banksters actually artificially kept interest rates high. And Mr. Trump repeatedly complained about why are interest rates so fucking high here, you bastards. So they definitely have a history of doing this. And of course, this is going to be now a literally a war of wills, where, and I don't even think Jerry's even really the best person to do this, because Jerry just works for the Rothschilds. So really, this is the Rothschilds, and like the guy who's actually literally trying to become the leader of the political party that this Justin Trudeau guy completely fucked our country over. This Carney guy, he is a puppet of the Rothschilds. He was the Bank of Canada chief governor. He was the Bank of England chief governor. I mean, you can't get any more in bed with the bankster crooks. And this guy's actually running to be the leader of Canada. And I can't believe how these stupid, naive Canadians are like, oh, yeah. If Mr. Trudeau was bad, well, having the bankster, that'll be the best solution. This is the guy who actually put all this crap into place and gave these politicians the permission to call this woke and blow up the budgets and all that, because they're a function of the Rothschilds and this great reset shit. So, where am I going with all this? What I think is going to have to happen here is that they're going to have to knock the stock market down, and it's going to really test Mr. Trump's resolve based on what he has planned and his sort of make America great again kind of idea. Keep in mind, Rothschilds are not Americans. The international banking cartel. I mean, you see that doofus over there in Europe, the lady who is a lawyer by trade. How the fuck she's got this job as a chief banker for like a decade now is beyond me. But it just, Jerry's not a banker by trade. He's also a lawyer. Interesting coincidence. So, in a weird sort of way, technically speaking, you can see the writing on the walls, right? This is basically a bearish, let's see, I guess we can just draw right there. Boom, 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 boom. This is a bearish ABCD pattern. Boom, boom. And boom, boom. So don't be, and interesting. We have this big old tail, huge gap that really needs filling in over here. This is the Dow. Don't be surprised if we see the Dow back. And I mean, what the fuck? 40,000 on the Dow? Why is this number this high? Well, this number is this high because of all the insane money printing, hyperinflation. And the irony of stocks is that they don't really care. Stocks will be whatever price they are. And it's just simply a function of what the money supply is, right? If you hyperinflate the money supply, stock prices will go up because stocks are stocks are stocks, book value of companies. You all understand that. So they just have to offset the money printing. That's why you have a Dow 40,000 here. And, as I said, what will probably happen is they will cause this market to break. Stocks will come off. There'll be some sort of made up crisis. I have a feeling it's going to be this avian flu. Uh, that's basically affecting all the bird population. I'm not sure if it transfers over to humans. I am hearing talk that there's some sort of virus going around China right now that's it's not as bad as COVID, but it's supposed to be causing a lot of people to get really sick over there. So get ready for that. What a surprise. Middle of January is like history repeating itself. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have to knock this thing down. And then you start getting politicians, because keep in mind, politicians are mindless, brainless idiots. They'll start saying stupid things like, I will sacrifice my life to save capitalism, when they don't realize what the hell's going on here. I mean, I hate to say it. You see where the 50% rule is just off of this range right here. I think it would actually be very healthy for the market to come back down to this 36, 37 area. That would be natural. That would clean up the excesses of this. And on that event, oh, what a surprise, 4669. You can already start to see the confluence. But my hunch here is on this event, you're going to have the public freaking out. The media, of course, owned by these bankster fuckheads, are going to be like just really cranking it up. I heard the other day that there was this son of a bitch, and who knows how many of this is the case. He was actually caught with a flamethrower walking around lighting fires in the Pacific Palisades. So this isn't natural. This is actually what you see happening in California. This is actually intentional, what's going on. God damn it. And I remember the COVID thing, it was the exact same thing. There was a guy walking up and down I-5 in Washington State with a flamethrower, literally lighting the goddamn freeway on fire. And nobody ever followed up on any of that shit. It just makes you so angry how corrupt this whole shit is. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So don't be shocked if you see the stock market come off here appreciably in this first quarter of for probably second quarter of 2025. And if anything, I mean, I'm not quite sure what it is I actually want to buy in the stock market per se, but I definitely think that whatever the end result of this correction is, it's just pullbacks are buying opportunities. So if there are stocks that you are super interested in, I would use this correction as your window to try and get long. And I suppose that sort of brings us to the next logical destination in our conversations, good old crypto. Uh, let's see, where should we go next? We have talked for quite a while about how things maybe were looking a little bit overdone there in the crypto space. To be honest with you, and well, I've said this repeatedly, so if I said something different, you'd go, well, that's not being honest, Brian. But I'm actually surprised that we did not get up and tag these chaos theory, Foggenbaum levels, trend line resistance, 200% parking garage. I'm actually really surprised that we didn't get up and tag those. So I don't know whether we're actually done here or not with regard to the bull, but we have been talking quite a bit about how things are getting a little bit overdone. And I even heard people saying things like on the weekly charts, we're now starting to see divergences develop. So here's the weekly chart. You can see that was my expectation that into the inauguration, we'd have one more push higher here, but I don't see it here yet. Actually, interesting how that's off. It should be there. Let's lock that in place. So I mean, maybe they can rally this thing up here. I don't know. It's tough. This might be like a head and shoulders pattern that they're carving out here right now, where this is the left shoulder and we have to go up and make a head here. That's that the problem with that thinking is that we're doing a lot of technical damage. If we go back to the daily, actually that's a weekly chart. Let's go back to the daily. Here's a 4 hour on stamp. I thought I had a daily chart on here. Let's see. Well, interesting. This is the CME futures. Maybe we can look at this. Here's your daily chart, and you can see this is looking very head and shoulders Z. I don't know whether this is a valid shoulder and that's a valid shoulder. This is a tough one. If you're a fan of that Peter Brandt guy, he likes to call it the bump, dump, chump, and rump or something crazy like that. I don't know. I will say that right out of the gate, first thing this morning, with the price dumping down into here, you can see we made a bit of a tail here today. So maybe this is a head fake. I don't know. But with that tail here, that was breaking through this support line. Things were looking a little dicey here first thing this morning. And I think you can actually see this if we pull up. This is the Kraken daily chart. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, there we go. All right. So you can see that a little bit better now. I was even putting tweets out. I don't know if it was through the weekend or when it was, but I even put a tweet out just recently saying, we do have M's working. And interestingly enough, if you change this to a clothesline, you can actually see the M actually fired last week. So what we've done here today is just further confirmed that ME type price action. And I think I even put out like notes on social media stuff. I don't know where the hell I have that. Yeah, there we are. Where I'd said, regardless of your perspective, and I think I didn't use the words right, but I got to sneeze. Hold on. All right, sorry about that. So, a really, really simple rule of thumb for all of you. Just write this down. If you've never seen it before, never heard it before, just write it down. What are we supposed to think if we ever see the market smiling at us? One eye, two eyes, happy face, break through that low, the market is officially smiling. And interestingly enough, if you use like candlesticks, the entire wicks and tails, or you change it to a clothesline, it's actually the same message, the same image. So I think the market is definitely trying to talk to us. The question is, are you listening? Strapping on new long positions here on Bitcoin, I think is kind of asking for trouble. I didn't know whether we were at the top. As I said, still had a couple pretty serious technical objectives. And ironically enough, if we do actually dump here now and we don't hit these technical objectives, then that will definitely lead me to believe that we have to go up and blast through those down the road. But you can see we have interesting trendline confluence here. We're coming to a head. Usually they say that these triangles resolve about 2/3 the apex. I don't know whether that's 2/3 of the apex is right in here. But you can definitely see that, we banged up against the top end of this trend channel and we rejected. We banged against this bottom trend line off of the original lows. And that acted as support. And now we're starting to lose those levels here. And we've actually gone and M'd out here. So the Bears got the ball right now. As I had pointed out earlier, the energy market is going crazy. It shouldn't surprise us that the tech market and tech related names are not happy if you see energy going crazy. This is very business as usual here, folks. So there is that. There was one other thing I wanted to mention about this. Yeah. I actually, if we actually go back and look at like 2016, 2017 cycle, I think that we're just basically right on course. But if you go back and you look at that 2016, 17 cycle, I don't even know if their Kraken even has this data. Let's go. I know Stamp does. So we'll go back and look at this is just the weekly chart for Stamp. If you go back and look at that 16, 17 cycle, and I really do think that this is what we're dealing with here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 17, 18. So I think that we're in this phase right here. This could, and keep in mind, these can be pretty damn violent swings. So from this low, and I think that this corresponds with that 49,000 low that we just saw. So, and I think that corresponds with the 100,000 we saw earlier. And you remember I'd said earlier that I kind of like the idea that we could go up and hit those objectives that we haven't hit yet. And we do something along these lines. But even there to there, right? If we go, Collins pump chaser zone, for example, there it is, that window right there. Collins pump chasers. And actually, we even went even further than 50% of that range. So, let's just maybe use the 50% reference. Keep it nice and simple. If we go to today and we see where is that 50% level, there's that 49,000. There's the peak at 108 or whatever. There's Collins pump chaser zone. And we just throw on the 50% level just so you can see it. There is 50% sitting at 79,000. Seems perfectly realistic. And remember, that went even a little bit beyond the 50%. And I definitely think that we could easily come back down, kiss these old highs, and this is what's called a Wyckoff check, Richard Wyckoff. And there are so many buy on stop orders just sitting just above this high. Remember, the market blasted through here. So on this week, when the market blasted higher here, and we could even look at it on a daily. When the market blasted through that level there on the daily, there are a lot of people, of course, that are like, well, I'm not allowed to chase. So I will just work my stink bid to buy the breakout level right there. And you can see market never did come back to that breakout level. It came close, but anybody who had buy orders there, they never got filled. And really, quite often, this is what'll happen, right? Think of price as moving through like floors and ceilings in like a parking garage. So what we'll often do is you can see at this point the ceiling was just too stiff, and there were a ton of sell orders all just sitting there. Then the market backs up. Okay, we'll take another run at that. They punch through this level. They clean out all those sell orders. So what ends up happening is everybody who sees that, now they go in and they put a whole bunch of buy orders all down in here. So, the market makers who are seeing the price action, it doesn't matter whether it's Stamp or, Coinbase or wherever. They now see all of the, they punch through the ceiling. So that made a hole. They actually, the ceiling was firm here. They punched through the ceiling here. And then they look down right here and they look down at the order book and they see just a shit ton of buy orders because the market was able to punch through that. And so this is a perfect analogy. What once was resistance now becomes support. So the market couldn't even come back into this level just because there were so many buy orders here that they saw. And any seller went, holy shit, I'm going to sell here into all those buy orders. That's kind of dumb. And sure enough, they pull their sell orders and whoom, up goes price. So I think all those orders are sitting there just waiting to get filled. I teach in our education program 38.2. You should expect this level to be traded to at any given point in time. Anytime, any place, market can pull back to 38.2s in a heartbeat. So that's what's that? 85,000 and then 50% level down to 79. I don't see any reason why we can't come back down into reload zones, right? And against all of these lows, the pros will simply reload their long positions. Makes perfect sense to me. Uh, so, if anything, I'm almost thinking, we're so close to this inauguration, probably best just to leave this thing alone for the next week or two. And let's just see what develops here. I don't really like the idea of shorting, and I certainly don't want to sell my Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies at this point of the cycle. I don't think that makes sense. First off, if we talk about the money cycle, this is where short-term interest rates are really low. Remember, I had said previously, the Fed and the bankster crooks were fucking with Mr. Trump, and they were delaying cutting interest rates just because they really don't like Mr. Trump. And I think that they have an agenda to do exactly opposite of what Mr. Trump wants. Do you think that we might have a repeat? I would not be surprised if you actually see, and I actually thought we were going to do something like this. We kind of did that a little bit here. But I would not be surprised if actually this thing flatlines, even though rates should, naturally come down. But with what's happening with the oil market and that inflation picture I showed you earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing actually just flatlines here. And keep in mind, the blue line, right? They absolutely hate Mr. Trump. And, think Rothschilds. It's the exact opposite agenda of what Mr. Trump wants. Rothschilds don't want America great again. Don't kid yourself. They obviously want the world to be swimming in debt, and they continue their slavery of the human species at interest. That's what the Rothschilds want. And being something like energy independent, paying down the national debt with revenue generated from the crude oil and natural gas markets, that's the last thing in the world the Rothschilds want to see. So there's an interesting war here right now. That's probably the best way that I would describe it. We all, of course, in crypto turned bullish again as they're lowering interest rates, trying to stimulate the economy, i.e., turn the printers on, burr and all that shit. Why we like Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has moved up appreciably here. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we bottomed at 15, so technically you could argue Bitcoin's almost gone up 10x now anyway. It's gone 10x in my currency because this stupid fuck Trudeau dickhead. But once we get to the end of this sine wave, now I don't know how long this takes to roll over, but once we get to the end of this sine wave, then I have to start thinking about the Fed will actually start getting serious about fighting inflation again, probably start raising short-term interest rates to cool the economy, which should take the wind out of crypto sales. So you can look at it from this perspective. We're in that friendly part of the market cycle, or, and this is the best part about Bitcoin, is you can just pull up the Bitcoin chart. And we've got spring, summer, fall, and winter. And, I've you can come on the site and I can share this image that goes all the way right back to the beginning of Bitcoin, but very consistent cycles. And you can see when we transition from spring into summer, oh boy, Bitcoin goes crazy. And usually we top right around the end of the summer of this cycle. So that means the same sort of logic. We're, I'm not going to say we're halfway through, but we are just basically climbing that wall of worry in Bitcoin price right now. And as I showed you from the 2016-2017 cycle, there was a bunch of back and forth as we were breaking out then. And I think that's exactly what we're going through now. And then ultimately, we should, over the course of this year, work our way up into that September, October, November peak. And as I've told all of you, if we do actually hit these numbers, I sell my Bitcoins, I go buy Liam a house, and I officially retire. So we'll see what happens. But only time will tell. So I definitely do not want to short this kind of market state. No way. No way, Jose. Having said that, could we go through like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months here where this just is absolute shop Vegas here, and we come zipping down into Wyckoff checks and pump chaser zones and 38.2s and 50% and previous trend lines that acted as resistance become support. Absolutely. This is just business as usual. But at the same time, too, this is, if you're interested in Bitcoin, and probably this is more a conversation about the ETFs. If you really want to get into that whole ETF space and the Bitcoin ETFs, that's going to be your buying window there. It's interesting to see as we sort of work our way through the food chain. I had been talking to all of you about, do we see things like the total market? And this is kind of things like this one is the total crypto market minus Bitcoin and Ethereum, but there's also the total effect. Where do I have that? Yeah, I think I have it over on my stock market matrix. Over here and over here. Hey, there we are. So this is the total crypto market space. I don't know what the proper term is. Let's go a weekly price chart just so we get an idea of where we are and where we're going. Does that look like that needs to take a bit of a pause? What letter of the alphabet does that look like? Ay caramba. So the issue here, a lot of the cryptocurrencies have actually just sat there and done not a hell of a lot. I mean, some of them have doubled, some of them have quadrupled, quintupled, and I think it's those quadruples and quintuples that actually need to come back down to earth a bit here. If you think like bot setups, boom, 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 I think we've more than exceeded those rally expectations. And I suppose you could argue, if we just look at this kind of image here to here, there is 38.2s, there is the pullback, very natural, normal retracement. So if we did somewhat the same thing, maybe we just use that low here. I don't know. But 38.2s there. If we actually have to come back against all these lows, 38.2 is just nothing more than that Wyckoff check that we talked about there just a few minutes ago. So where is the problem, in my opinion, in this market? The problem, I think, is not so much in the little pieces of crap. It's names like this. I've talked to you lots about this. You can't go and buy a market that does this, especially like these big green dildos. Everybody gets excited about the green dildos. Hell, I love a big green dildo as much as anybody else. Don't get me wrong. Somebody should get a soundbite of that. But you can't go and buy that. You're just asking for trouble. So is this the kind of market that if all we did was just, 38.2, 50% retracements, all that kind of talk, you can see where the reload zone is on this. It would not surprise me to see this guy come back down and even kiss this 78.6 here. And there's a bunch of cryptocurrencies that look like this, and you just can't buy these damn things up here. Like the Cripple and the Stellar Lumens, they're perfect examples. Should be right here. My eyesight is so bad. Where are you, Stellar Lumens and Cripples? There's Cripple. Woo-wee, does that ever look dangerous? Ay, 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 ay. So I know on the site we had a debate whether this could be a buy signal, and to me it's not, because you have to see a W on the other side of this trend line. But this is where, if this thing comes back down to earth, you see those totals and all those kind of indexes all sort of calm down. And the problem is, I can't chase something that looks like that. I'm on the sell side, did take profits on this, and you can see where my bid working is. I doubt we come all the way back down here, but could we do 50% retracements here? Sure, no problem. And it'll happen on a day like this, where you look and you go, holy Jesus, everything is just getting its ass kicked. But how ironic. At the exact same time, you want to see something that I am buying? I bought this silly little thing, and look at that. What the hell's going on here? Wait a minute. I thought crypto was going off the board. This son of a bitch is rallying. Like, what the hell? So, this is the type of asset that I will come in and buy through this kind of environment. But there's no way in hell I can touch those high flyers. You know, what's the well, there's a bunch of cliches, right? Show me a W. W's are what I want to buy. And if I can see a W at the bottom end of the range, fine, I'll just go in and buy that. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. But a lot of these names, they just do not look WE. They look more ME than WE. Now, the irony of it all is that I actually bought a lot of crypto today. I mean, not a lot, maybe, I don't know. I think we have a fun little account that's about 20, 30 G's that I'm using as a demo here for all of you. And I think I bought like, I don't know, maybe a grand or two worth of crypto here this morning, stake bids. So, what am I doing here? And remember, I'm an open book. Hopefully what you hear from me is, she's so bloody cliche. He says the same damn things day in, day out. MKR, Rune, and SNX. These are the names that I was buying here today. And why would I buy something like a Rune? You should all look at this and go, and the sad part about it is the public looks at this and goes, oh my God, you're buying that? What are you, crazy? And I look at this and I go, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want to see. And the good part about this is a reload zone within a reload zone. Oh my God, I love these. This is just music to my ears. So this is exactly, this is my wheelhouse. This is, I've been playing this silly game 30, 40 years. This is my absolute favorite trade. And if this thing has to sit here for the next 3 or 4 months and just swoon out, as soon as I get any kind of W in here, I'm going to be going and adding to the trade. I did my first initial nibble here, kind of like what you saw with that GAL. On the first dumps, that's when I go and have my first fills. And then when I start actually seeing W's come in, I'll go in and add to the trade. This one, unfortunately, didn't double, but it's not that big of a deal. But, it's the same logic here. I've gone and did a little bit of nibbling. And then as time goes by here, and especially considering my conversation about January barometer, what the oil market's doing, what interest rates look like, what the propensity for us to actually go into recession here. I think that this all makes perfect sense to me. I'm expecting weakness here, and I am buying into weakness. Now, that might be really, really hard for a lot of you new people to investing to do. I'm an institutional type player. I sell up markets and I buy down markets. That's what I do. So initial nibbles getting filled here. This little guy here, same sort of logic. I mean, you should look at this and go, whoa, that's a reload zone within a reload zone. And there's the Wyckoff check. Well, what a surprise that Beamish guy's in there nibbling away. It shouldn't surprise you one bit. This is what I do. This SNX is another example here where I did a little initial nibble, and I was even chastising myself. Not quite sure why I pulled the trigger at 61.8, but I did. I'm not upset with this at all. Threw in another bid to actually buy the 78.6. And I really like that trade. And I got filled on that one here this morning. So I really like that trade. So there's a good example of sort of contrarian investing when they're yelling. That's this shit up here. I want to be selling, right? And a really good example of that was that Stellar Lumens. about 3 or 4 months ago. No, I guess it was only a couple months ago. XLM and then the cripple, same sort of thing. The dog money, same thing. Selling into those rallies, right? Market jumps up, Brian's selling into this one was an absolute gift. Selling into these peaks. In fact, I think I even sold some here and then sold some more up here. Got a couple of doubles off. And anything that you see as a blue means that I've actually recently been buying. So you can see over the past couple months, I've been doing some serious buying. I'm a bull. I'm expecting the market to rally into next fall, and I'm using pullbacks to buy. Now, obviously, I'm not going to buy something that looks like that. I've already got my free coins. I mean, you all know how I operate. And if you don't, get your butt in the school and we'll teach you. But long and short of it here, if I can get a 78.6 within a 78.6, I buy that shit every day of the week, every day. So you can see how many bids I am working. I should, over the next couple months, be doing a lot of buying. Now, it's probably it's worth us taking a moment. I think that Ethereum actually looks very much like the dog money and like the XLM and all that kind of stuff. And the conjecture always is: are we value trading or are we trend continuation trading? And I'm not really what's the word? I am bias agnostic. I think that's Grim, our level 1 instructor. He likes to use that term. I got to blow my nose. I got to put myself on mute. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. And so, we could have very easily, yeah, I mean, you can see the double bottom that came in here, and you can see the bottom levels. We could have very easily just trend continuation our way higher here. I had strapped on the paper trade on this bot level, and I had said, well, if we can get any kind of turn down in here, then I will actually go strap this on with live money on Kraken. But it turns out we never got any bottom. So the little paper trade got blasted out, and I never did actually go and buy any here at all. So this setup, with this low being broken, at the very best, all you can say is, okay, well, maybe now we have to hunt for 3 new higher lows, W's within W's to try and frame a bullish setup here. But that's absolute most that we can do here right now. And frankly speaking, that's even a bit optimistic, we'll say at this point. So I think I'm just going to take that right off the screen because I don't think that that's relevant anymore. So what I would say is we have now definitely a confirmed M top. And because of the confirmed M top, we can actually start drawing things like fog and bombs again. So let's see how bad could get here. And, this isn't necessarily like, oh, I'm going to trade that. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to sell that. This is more just like, I just want to try and figure out where the market kind of thinks like it wants to go. So keep in mind this thing, just like Bitcoin, it's coming off a long way here since the bottom. There is the bottom all the way down there. And what a surprise 78.6 is. There's Brian. He's got a stake bid working at this level. If I'm really lucky, I'll get that fill. It looks to me like, though, in the near term, this almost looks like they're going to carve out some massive head and shoulders pattern. I don't know whether that went to new highs, but doesn't this kind of look like shoulder, head, neckline, especially with that funny tail and that funny tail? Do we dump down into here, which would be into 2.618, which would make sense? And probably also 2 if we just did a reload zone. Where's 78.6? Yeah. 88.6. I like, again, into that March window. Whoops. I like a nice dip into this level here. But I don't think that this actually turns into a big head and shoulders top. I think actually we go down, up, down, breakout as we get ready for the next leg higher. But that's just Brian's opinion. That's all it is. Having said that, this is actually a descending wedge. If we go boom, 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 and boom, boom, there should be a third tag here, which ironically enough, they often say that these markets, you heard me say this earlier, they like to resolve about 2/3 the apex, which would mean that we should expect some sort of event right in here to try and stop the slide. So just in the near term, looking at Ethereum itself, Foggenbaums paint some interesting levels. I do definitely like this level here, 2.618 against the 88.6 and against that key low there and into this ultimate tail. I do like that. Do we actually get the dump that actually goes and flushes this low to give me a bid fill down here? I don't think so. But yeah, what the hell? I'll work a stink bid. I like stinky bids. Remember, I buy down markets, I sell up markets. So I'm more than happy if they want to just rip this thing a new a-hole here and you get an absolute face rip dump, I'll be in there buying that every day of the week. So that's kind of the picture that I'm seeing on Ethereum right now. I might even argue, just really simply put, this is the top end of your range. Boom. Do I even have? I don't know that I have anything like this. Well, anyway, I'll go like that, and then we'll go like that, and this is the bottom end of your range, and we are stuck in a trading range. That's what this is what I'm thinking right now, for whatever it's worth. What was that? That was like that, and that, and that, and we'll just leave this on here because I think that that's our playground from now on. So we've done some serious technical damage here, no doubt about it, right? But you heard me say earlier, what are we supposed to think if we ever see the market smiling at us? If you see the smile, that is, oh boy, we've done some technical damage. So at the, if you're a bull, that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with being a bull. But what we got to see is we got to start seeing the W's again, right? W's within W's, W's, whatever. I suppose this is also a W, right? Well, that's what we have to see to be bullish. And if you see this kind of W action, it translates into this, right? And then sadly, the public comes in and they buy here and they wonder why they always lose money. You were supposed to buy the W, not up here. So as long as we're seeing M's on the price chart, that means we're seeing smiles. We just got to leave this thing alone and we have to wait for it to actually W out. And this might take a while, folks. Just be forewarned. You might even be able to do like a time series forecast, which would probably put like the bottom somewhere around here, which I've seen a lot of people actually talk about that they're looking for the market to pivot somewhere around the middle to the end of February. So interesting how that would bring us to that 2/3 apex. Somewhere in that area is where I would look for this thing to finish its slide. So it's going to be a bit of a slog here, folks. No doubt about it. Did find it interesting, though, surfing through here. One great anecdote of how the market works, although it looks like it's lost its rally, is I've always said that Loom is a fantastic leading indicator. Ooh, Loom broke down too. Loom was up earlier today, and I was like, well, take heart, everybody. Loom is turning back up, so maybe we'll see the slide end. The fact that Loom is actually down 21% now, and it's the leading indicator, means that the rest of the shit still needs to come down further. So, I don't think there's a huge hurry here, folks. There's a hell of a lot of red on the screen. And as I said, I've got a ton of buy orders. And if anything, we're finally getting the market to come down into my buy order levels, and I'm starting to get fills. And I'm absolutely tickled pink about the Rune fill, because this is exactly the same way that the Luna story went last cycle, where Luna started off like 20, 30 cents, whatever. It went zooming up to $20. Then it came all the way back down to like $4 or $5. I loaded up at $4 or $5. Then it ultimately topped out at $119. I had my next sell half on a double order at 120, and I never got filled on that one. But I was selling at like 16, 32, 65. And I think that this is exactly the same thing. And it's happening almost exactly the same part of the cycle. I don't think I can show you that Luna chart. I might be able to, but I don't think so. I think it's long gone. Well, maybe it's still here. I don't know. This might be something completely different, though. Luna? Well, let's see. Is this? Oh, maybe it's still here. No, I think this is something totally different. Because this is like the is this the stable coin? Oh no. Oh, this is it right here. Perfect. Oh, look at that. Good timing. So I think this is history repeating itself, folks. Do you see how this guy here made this top? And Brian the cheap ass says, I will buy reload zones. So what a big surprise. Brian was in there accumulating at the 78.6, like I said, about $5. Did my first stink bid on the dump down. And then I added to the trade as soon as I started seeing W's come in here. I think you're going to see exactly the same thing here with this rune. I think it's identical. So, just as for fun, I mean, I'm not going to say identical because obviously this top looks slightly different. But let's go like that. I'll throw this in the lounge, douche. And then let's go back to our room. There's the same thing. Wait till I see this come down a bit further. That wouldn't shock me. But having said that, 78.6s, more than happy to step in here. And if this thing has to just sort of like bump along here for the next while and then start to break out and move up, I'll be more than happy to add to the trade as we go forward. Of course, Ilion, we should do that, right, Ilion? Inside joke. But the point here is I think that these stories look very, very similar. So I'm accumulating. It's what I do. Okay, I think that gives you a pretty good idea of what I'm doing in the market. Nice little treat on that GAL. It's a bit of a surprise, but you can see most of the market looks pretty upset right now. Not obviously in a hurry to do any selling whatsoever. Having said that, of course, if this GAL pops up because they reinvented the wheel or something, okay, well, fine, I'll take profits. Twist my rubber arm. But if anything, I would expect over the next couple months that you're just going to hear Brian is slowly accumulating. I mean, I think, full disclosure, I don't really care. You can join me on these trades if you want. I won't be insulted one way or the other. But you can see how many buy orders I have. I mean, I got a ton of buy orders here that I want filled. And it's probably going to take quite a bit of panic selling on all of your parts to actually give me my fills. And I've told everybody, you want a list of my buy orders? You want to join me? Great. I won't be offended one way or the other. If you don't want to buy it, I don't care. I'm here to make money with my account. And, if you want to learn how it is that I participate in the market and you want to emulate what I do, the whole process, that's why we built the school. And I still don't think that there's many other places on the net that actually teach you the process the way that we teach you at TRI with the rational analysis. And I think it's definitely worth the investment. So seriously consider it if you want to get on board and you want to set yourself up for this sort of second half of this bull run here. just get all the nitty gritty about building trading plans, about identify what type of risk taker you are, about getting your capital together, figuring out what exchange you trade on, what's going to be the dollar size of your individual investments, what your risk threshold is, what kind of setups, what kind of indicators, what kind of price action, what kind of level tools you like to use that speak to you as an individual. Just get that stuff out of the way. That's get your shit together. And I think over the next 2 or 3 months, which ironically enough will give you enough time to get the level one done. I don't think you're going to look, we're looking for some huge bull market here right now, but it will give you the opportunity to get your shit together, get all your ducks lined up, to figure out what names it is that you're interested in participating in, and get those bids working. And over the next couple of weeks, I think you should be able to get some fills. So, okay. I think we'll leave the rant at that. Sure hope you enjoyed the offering and made up for my absence yesterday. I'm going to hang up here, and I think I'm just going back to bed. Have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. Don't take no wood nickels. Of course, as I said, school starting up in earnest here this week. So get all that stuff taken care of so that you can attack the learning material in earnest. All right. All the best. The only left Brian to say to you is bye for now.